Welcome to Total Top 10s. Today we will be looking at some of the world's dumbest criminals. Number 10. Free beer. In 2011, this was a police-planned operation to arrest multiple wanted criminals. An undercover branch of the police department in Derbyshire, United Kingdom offered a crate of free beer to a lucky few. These few were fugitives. The catch was, the winners of the free beer had to come collect the beer in person. When they arrived, there was no beer, only police ready to arrest them and put them behind bars. In all, 19 fugitives were taken into custody. Number 9. Confused robber. In London, a robber set his sights on the Halifax Bank. He stormed into the bank and demanded money be put into a bag. Under such stress, the robber accidentally handed over the gun, which was in one hand, while he held onto the bag that was intended for the money. Surprised, the bank teller backed away with the gun and pointed it at the robber. However, he escaped with an employee's bicycle. Number 8. The cell phone. In 2008, 18-year-old Ruben Zarette intended to rob a muffler shop in Chicago. Entering the store, he demanded money from the cashier. However, most of the money was located in a safe, which the absent manager could only open. Ruben decided he would return later, so leaving his cell phone with the employees, he left expecting a phone call when the manager returned. Employees quickly called the Chicago police, who arrived promptly on the scene. They instructed the employee to summon Zarette with a phone call telling him the manager had returned. You can only imagine what happened next. Number 7. The birth certificate. In this ridiculous series of events, a Boston man stole a woman's wallet and left behind the one thing that led to his downfall, his birth certificate. In the struggle to steal $40 in the victim's ID, 26-year-old Zachary Tintoni dropped 2 of his bags, with one containing his birth certificate. Even if he hadn't left this vital piece of information, the bags also contained a letter from the criminal's mother addressed to him. If this wasn't bad enough, when the police contacted him, he pretended to be someone else. However, the victim identified him immediately. Number 6. The donkey getaway. In Colombia, a group of thieves decided to rob a convenience store. Their plan was simple: rob the store and escape quickly on a donkey. Sounds like a perfect plan to me. However, their one problem was that donkeys aren't very quick. The robbery was a success. However, as you might have expected, the donkey was stubborn and created such a scene that the nearby officers noticed the commotion and arrested the criminals. Number 5. The Call. On March 23, 2010, Albert Bailey and an unnamed juvenile accomplice decided to rob a bank. But they thought they'd make it a little easy on the bank, so they decided to call ahead and tell them that they were going to rob the bank. In their defense, this would have made things go a lot smoother, except for the fact that they had just told the bank they were about to rob it. Needless to say, when they arrived, the police arrested them both immediately. Number 4. A not-so-standard criminal. In Omaha, Nebraska, a 17-year-old Ganga Ganga had plans to carjack a mother's car. He hastily pulled a gun on the unsuspecting mother and daughter, who fled after being demanded to leave the vehicle. Ganga had little experience with a manual transmission and began to struggle to get it into gear. Making such a commotion with the lights and windshield wipers, neighbors called the police. Ganga, frustrated with his inability, exited the vehicle and fled. Police arrested him several blocks away. Number 3. Unlucky robber. Darren Kimpton of Abington, Northampton chose most likely the worst house to rob, one full of police officers. The home he selected had been burgled earlier that night. The owner called the police and the officers were on the scene investigating the previous burglary. He tried to make a run for it, but he was captured after a brief struggle. What makes this story even more ridiculous was this wasn't Kimpton's first unsuccessful burglary attempt of the day. He'd previously tried to break into a nearby house, but failed to do so. He did, however, manage to break some glass, cut himself, and leave blood on the scene, so cops could easily identify him. Number 2. Deaf robber. In August 1995, Klaus Schmidt made an attempt to rob a bank in Berlin. Entering the bank armed with a gun, he quickly demanded money from the employees. After one asked if Schmidt needed a bag, he replied, "You're damn right it's a real gun," which gave away Schmidt's deafness. Employees sounded the alarm while the oblivious Schmidt waited for the money. Police arrived on the scene and arrested him. And finally, the number 1 dumbest criminal, the man-woman. When 48-year-old Dennis Hawkins of Pittsburgh decided to rob a bank, he thought things through, sort of. On one hand, he put together a pretty phenomenal disguise with a long blonde wig, fake breasts, and flashy pants. Not too bad, right? He only missed one thing. He didn't cover his face, which happened to have a mustache and goatee on it. To make bad worse, his unique look made him easily identifiable after failing to mug a woman and steal her car, also failing to steal a car at a gas station. If this wasn't enough, when police found him, he was covered in red paint from a dye pack exploding in his face. We hope you enjoyed this list of ridiculous criminals. Go ahead and subscribe and click that like button. See you soon.